right? You have a lot of turnover, possibly. Kelsey may be finished.
Where I'm looking up average life expectancy. I'm dreaming at this point. Like, I can't. I'm done with the season.
What's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes? And it's weird to be talking about a guy like, what's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes, and he's not 30. You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us, and we appreciate that. So wherever you're listening and however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in tacos, S as in sangria, M as in margaritas. Kennedy Miller, my guy.
What's going on, my man? Long time no see.
Yeah, man, it's been a hot minute, man. A lot to talk about, Ken, man. Where can the folks find you on Twitter, dog?
Find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. Don't forget to follow the Game Plan Podcast on our official Instagram at _ the Game Plan Podcast. Again, on our official Instagram at _ the Game Plan Podcast. But I said S as in sangria. I should have possibly said S as in said, or possibly S as in Spurs, because you, Kennedy Miller, said that the San Antonio Spurs were not contenders. You said this 2.5 months ago. And Kennedy Miller, time has shown you, my brother, were wrong, because the Spurs are going to the finals. They beat the Thunder in 7. So, Ken, what did the Spurs do to get over the fact of perceived inexperience in playoff really youth in order to make this really unprecedented trip to the finals?
Well, it is unprecedented, which is partially why I had them as pretenders, right? We kind of flipped sides on how we usually are, where usually I'm rooting for my team. I believe that my team is going to do this because of this. And usually you say, well, history shows that that's not likely, or the numbers will say that that's not likely. Well, the history did show that it was not likely for the Spurs to do this. But they did. They did. You know, they got past Portland, and they got past Minnesota, who, you know, Ant was not 100%, but I think San Antonio would have knocked them off either way. And then they get to play the Thunder, who they match up better than anybody else in the league. They played them 12 times this season, right? So they felt like they knew that matchup well. They felt like they won that matchup 4 out of 5 times in the regular season, and they were comfortable with it, and you can tell, right? And so it's unprecedented because you touched on it. None of these guys had any playoff experience, right? Fox had 7 games of playoff experience under his belt. Harrison Barnes had close to like 60 or something.
Won a title.
Yeah, he's won a title. But he's a role player. Like your main guys, Wemby, Castle, Harper, Champagnie, right? Like those dudes have not seen any playoff adversity before. And so they get in this series, which I think, like, this was probably the best series of the decade. When you think about 2 60-win teams matching up, that's the first time that's happened in years, right? 2 60-plus win teams, the first and second seed, 2 best teams basically in basketball all year long, and they play a 7-game series. And people can talk about, well, the games were blowouts and this, and this. That's not the way that we're going to, like, remember it. Like, when we talk about 2016 Cavs Warriors, most of those games were blowouts too. And that went 7 games. You talk about the Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs 2013, right? Game 1 was close. Game 7 was close. And Game 6. But a lot of those games in between were blowout games for either side. So, like, that's not how we're going to remember. We're going to remember it as a back-to-back MVP who was on the cusp of making it to his 2nd straight finals, really trying to etch his name in rare company. And this 22-year-old alien just kind of snatches it from him, snatches the title of the best player in the world, right? Shea played better in the games that they won, but Wemby was the overall better player in this series, right? And, he only had 22 points in game 7. That does not show the impact that that dude had, because by that 12th game that they played, those dudes were so indecisive on if they were going to go up or if they were going to pass it every time they got in the paint when he was down there. And um the way that they funneled Shea, the way that they made him out like he's got to be more of a passer, then we're gonna guard him straight up like he's just got to score. Like, it was phenomenal. Harper, Castle, big time props. Young guards, never been here before. Castle had the turnover games, the first 2 games, improved, right? Then you got freaking Champagny, who, like, if I'm a Philadelphia 76ers fan, I'm hot, man, because you traded away Jared McCain last year for nothing. You waived Champagny a couple of years ago to sign Mac McClung, right?
for the
And
dunk
this dude,
contest.
right, for the dunk contest. And this dude just goes 6 for 10 in a game 7 on the road. Like, it, big shot after big shot down the stretch, right? Harper, big time shots down the stretch. And I'm looking at these dudes like, is there ever going to be a time where their lack of playoff experience affects them? Because they just went to game 7 and OKC on the road and beat those dudes. Like, I was totally shocked. I was wrong. I will happily say I did not expect to see this. But I'm not mad at it because the league is in a good place, right? The league is in a good place. You had a team that we thought was going to be a dynasty. And I feel like this is our 3rd team, but I think we can agree that we felt like this team was the most suited. Like, we said Denver was going to be back. They haven't been back since. We said Boston was going to be back. Injuries, right? Things have happened. They haven't. And then we're looking at OKC. They're younger than both of them. They have Shea's the MVP. We're like, okay, this is a team that's going to be a dynasty. Nobody has repeated in 8 years. No, I'm sorry. Nobody has went back to back in
Repeated in close to 10.
yeah,
Close to
well,
10.
8 years, yeah. 2017, 2018. Yeah, close to 10 years. Nobody has went back to a final in 8 years. And like, it's crazy. Like, nobody's went to back-to-back finals. And in the West, OKC and the Lakers are the only teams in this 8-year span to at least gone back to the conference finals. Like,
Because Denver hadn't even made it out of the second round since.
correct. Like, the NBA is in a good spot right now. And like, people can complain about stuff that was happening. The parity is at an all-time high. Dudes are competing. Like, teams are rising up, and it's making teams have to make drastic decisions. Like, where do we go from here? Because honestly, OKC and San Antonio ain't going nowhere. They're not going anywhere. So like, you're looking at teams like Minnesota, Denver. Are y'all's window? Is it still open? Like,
I think
I would
Denver's
venture,
window is shut.
yeah, I would venture to say I think I think Minnesota's window is shut. They gave up all their picks for Gobert. Got rent. Like, you basically maximize this core group that you have. And these 2 teams are better. The Thunder will be better next year. If Jalen Williams can stay healthy. They were missing AJ Mitchell, who really, those look like their 2nd and 3rd best players. We'll touch on Chet in a minute. But they're not going anywhere. They're still going to be a tough team to beat. But I mean, shout out to the Spurs. They did what they were supposed to do. They were confident in doing it, and they punked those dudes.
I think there's a couple things I want to get to. One of the first things is, kid, you said your girlfriend, she showed you that video that my wife took of me watching the game, coaching from my couch as if me from 900 miles away is going to do something. Yo, I ain't going to lie. That's how you know, all the fellas out there who've ever been there. When your team is close to a championship, that's how locked in you are. Right?
Yes,
It was
absolutely.
just one of those things. And I tell people this all the time, man. The San Antonio Spurs in my life outside of my twin brother in my immediate family. The Spurs like the first thing outside of that I've ever loved in my entire life. So for me, the Spurs, they something different, right? And so like y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand what I've been through. Okay. I was there after we traded Kawhi Leonard, right? After we gave DeJounte Murray away 4 years ago for a used Subway coupon and a discount tire voucher, right? I was there when we were sending out Devontae Graham and Lucas Samanic, right? And what was left of LaMarcus Aldridge. I was there the year we went 22-60, back-to-back years. Even the year after we got Victor, we weren't no better, right? And so this feels like this is probably the most rewarding, like, successful season that we've had, at least for me. Obviously, we got a couple of more to win, but I think one of the things that San Antonio did, and you mentioned it, the youth and the inexperience, at some point, when is it going to rear its ugly head? Every time it looked like they were in a situation where, all right, this is where the young team folds, shuts it down. Here they are, right? Down 2-1, going into game 4. If you go down 3-1, it's curtains. They come out and blow Oklahoma City's doors off, right? They end up losing game 5, end up down 3-2, facing elimination. They show up and they blow Oklahoma City's doors off. Even in game 7, when they get a 14-point lead in Oklahoma City, in a lot of those, really the entire series, we dominated the minutes Victor was on the court. But those minutes we had to send Luke Cornett out there, oh man, I was sweating. That's where we lost the lead. And ultimately, we might have gone from a 6 or 7 point lead, and there was a swing to a 7, 8, 9 point Oklahoma City advantage, right? It looked like a similar thing was going to happen. We start off up 14, and then Shea gets hot in the second quarter, right? They end up taking a 4-point lead. And you're like, all right, this is where typically early in the series we lose control of the game. This time, De'Aaron Fox makes some big shots, right? We're down 4. Fox makes a big 3. Fox gets a layup, right? And for all the people who were like, we need to trade De'Aaron Fox, now this is why he's necessary and this is why he's here, to take and make big shots when you need them. And quiet as it's kept, Castle had 20 turnovers in the first 2 games when Fox was hurt with that ankle injury. I think Castle turned the ball over 8 times total in the next 5 games, right? So, like, De'Aaron Fox, even though he, outside of game 7, he didn't like score the ball particularly well, but he was a stabilizing force for the Spurs, right? And then on top of that, like, just the gravity of Victor. And I think that's one thing I don't think we can. I think sometimes we realize we take it for granted, but then you see grown men, NBA players, in this case, a 2-time NBA MVP, decide, nope, I don't want no parts of going to the basket. And Ken, you know what I'm going to have to call this stat? When people go to the basket, they see Victor, and they decide to go the other way and head over yonder, we're going to have to call them Clay Davises, Ken. IP to Isaiah Whitlock from The Wire. And you know why I say we got to call it Clay Davises? Because people get in, they go into the basket, they see Victor, and what do they say, Ken? Shit.
Now that's real.
30 seconds left. 30 seconds left. Oklahoma City gets the steal. We're trying to inbound it. Shea has a clear path to the basket. He says he sees Victor. Shit. He sends it out to Casey Wallace. Casey Wallace goes to the basket. Shit. And throws it out to Kenrich Williams, who takes a bad 3-point shot. Right? Like, that's what I mean in terms of, like, this guy's defensive impact, right? And what he can do for you, right? To the point where, like, Ken, let's be honest. And now we can talk about the whole thing. I don't know if I have ever seen someone get humiliated, emasculated in the way that we saw Chet Holmgren get done this series, right? You know how, Ken, we've heard the stories about the story Shaq told about David Robinson, that David Robinson didn't sign an autograph for him when he was in like high school or something. And ever since then, he's hated David Robinson, so he plays really well against David Robinson as revenge. Or the infamous Michael Jordan, LeBron Nash story, right? Mm-hmm. And you find out both of those stories went about Shaq and David Robinson, and the Michael Jordan, LeBron Nash story. Neither of those are true, right? I think Victor Wembanyama has a real story like that as it relates to Chet. Like, I think it's after the under 19U FIBA game, and Chet wins MVP, even though Victor outplays him, right? And I think they said, the story is from Brian Windhorst. He said Victor's out with his mother, and they run into Chet, and then Chet says something real slick to Victor, kind of trying to big bro him while his mama right there. And it became very obvious Victor took it personally at that moment. and he decided, I hate this dude, and I'm going to make him regret ever picking up a basketball, because that's how it looked. Chet Holmgren wanted no parts of Victor Wembanyama. Chet Holmgren got his chain snatched worse than Rashad did Nunu on ATL, right? And the wild thing about it is, all of the Spurs, man, it seemed like they inherited the beef. Because it wasn't just Victor talking greasy to Chet. Vassell sent his shit into the stands and it was talking crazy to him. And Chet just standing there looking dumbfounded, like he wanted no parts of it. And I think that's the worst part. If you're Oklahoma City, right? That it's one thing, to have a bad game, right? Or have a bad series. But he rendered a dude you paid $250 million to completely useless. Like, I rewatched Game 7. Shout out to your league pass, Ken. Shout out. And really just to watch Chet intently, to see like what his activity was on the floor. Because it's one thing that he only scored 4 points. But the 2 shots that he took, both came in the first 3 minutes of the game. The first 3 minutes of the game. He didn't take another shot for the next 28 minutes he was on the floor. He didn't do anything. And it's one thing if, like we've seen Jason Tatum have games where his shot's not falling, but he's still active defensively, still rebounding, still passing the ball. Chet might as well not have been there at all. Like, the idea that they're paying this guy $250 million and Kenrich Williams takes more shots than you in the biggest game of the year. They're paying you $250 million and Alex Caruso took more shots than you in the biggest game of the year. They're paying you $250 million and Cason Wallace took more shots than you did. Right? That's a thing. And really, I ain't gonna lie, I don't know where you go from here with a dude like that. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do when a guy that you're paying that much money, he wanted no parts of the game at all. He didn't want it at all. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the Thunder might end up having to keep him because, I mean, honestly, somebody with that height, weight, size profile is the prototype to stop Victor, right? So you can think, all right, he can just, I don't know, but it is clear Victor is all up in here. All up in there, man. And it's I ain't gonna lie, it's embarrassing. Somebody made a joke. They was like, Chet probably say, when he gone, I'm gonna be shooting again.
And, like, Chet, you can make an argument that, if Wembanyama is not in the league, he's the best rim protector in the league. And he got emasculated. Like you could, they show the video all the time. Wemby crying when Chet's getting the award, the under 19 game, and like there's a villain origin story. There's your there's like this redemption arc I got to get to, and it's almost like it's fitting. And Chet is not. He's not the star on Oklahoma. He's one of their stars, but he's not the MVP. Wemby is the MVP, so like you're not taking as many shots as me, but anytime that I have an opportunity to attack you, I will. And for Chet to not shoot the ball at all in the second half, to your point, making $200+ million, all-star this year, all NBA player, like they were saying you're a top 15 player in the league this year, right? Like, and it just showed the difference. Like, Wemby was really like, it's levels to this. Like, I'm gonna show you it's levels to this, and I'm gonna try and take away your opportunity to repeat as a champion. That's what he did. And Chet keeps trying to do this like PC, like, oh, all I care about is winning, and we're just trying to win. Like, man up, because you got punked. Like, they passed him the ball. Wemby had 5 fouls, and he jabbed and passed it right back. And like, one thing is mentality. Maybe the coach could have drew up something so he could get something easier. But like, you could tell by his eyes he wanted no parts. He wanted no parts. Like, Wemby dunked on him
you can see that on TV.
Started. Yeah, Wemby dunked on him to get the game started. That dude wanted no parts of this. At home, by the way.
Yo, when Vassell sent his stuff to the second row and was talking crazy to him, and Chet really just gave him a shoulder bump but didn't say nothing back, it's like, yeah, man, this is like, he barked up the wrong tree and the whole forest fell on him, because it is very much, at least to me, like the Victor Chet thing. It appears to me the way it was with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, where Drake might not have liked this guy, but he's like, all right, I just don't like that guy, whatever. But you don't understand what's on this other side. This dude hates you.
Yeah.
Victor hates him. Like, that part is very clear. Like, there will be moments where I'm watching the game, and every time you see Chet matched up with him, Victor's like, no, ball right here. I'm going right at him. Right? Like, his eyes would light up. Or the time at the end of the game when Victor dunked, he got the and one. He said something crazy to Chet, and I don't even know if he was speaking in English or French, but I know he was cussing. Right? Just by the body language. And I'm like, hey, dog, you have to do something. Ken, I don't know if you've ever had this situation, have people tell these stories, like when you were a little kid and you got to go fight somebody, and your mama or somebody be like, look here, you better go outside and fight them, and you better win. Otherwise, you're going to get your ass whooped out there. You get your ass whooped when you come back inside. No one's ever said that to Chet Holmgren. No one apparently has ever said this to him. And I don't know, like, they need to have intervention, because if they plan on keeping him, this is untenable. Right,
Yeah.
like the idea at the end of the game, they would have they would rather have Jalen Williams out there than him, and you the guy they paying $250 million. You, and the coach looked at you, was like, nah, man, not him. Right, like the way honestly, the way the entire Spurs team treated Chet Holmgren, that should offend you. That should bother you if you're him. Because I'm like, yo, they don't respect me. Even if you don't like me, you're gonna have to respect me. And they don't, and they do neither. Right. But I think that's the thing about Victor, where it feels different, man. Where Ken, we've heard all of the complaints of, our uncles and our dads and stuff, talking about all the dudes, they way too friendly, they want to key and they want to do all this blah blah blah. Bring back the 70s and the 80s where these dudes hated each other and they really, they really brought it. Well, you got Victor, right? You got Victor, and we gonna have Victor for a while, man. Like, I think this Spurs Thunder rivalry, I think we'll look back on this the way we did Celtics Lakers, the way we did at one point LeBron versus, honestly, the Celtics when he was with the Cavs and with the Heat, right? Warriors Cavs, right? I think we'll look at it that way, because honestly, I don't want to be the person to say Oklahoma City's championship window is closed or anything like that, because I'm like, nah, man, they still have a whole lot of really good dudes. And shout out to, I will say this about Shea. All the complaining, all as much as Shea irritates me, really the Thunder team irritate me with some of the foolishness they're doing, with all the falling and flailing and all of that. And for me, what's frustrating is, as good of a team as they are, they don't have to do any of that. They just don't. Right. And so game 7, Shea ain't do none of that. Shea just hooped. Just hooped.
Yeah, he
And you're
played
like,
well.
see, that's why people, I feel like sometimes are so irritated with them, especially Shea. Because it's like, dog, you can get like, when you first started playing basketball, you weren't falling and flailing all over the place. You just got there and got to your spots and got buckets. And that's what he did in game 7. But San Antonio got it done. So Ken, I'll ask you this. What's next for the Thunder? Right? Like, do you think they need to stand pat? Or do you think they need a big move to try to put them back in front of San Antonio in the West?
Well, you could argue that they could feel like they're perfectly fine if they're totally healthy. Like if Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell play, they could feel like they have enough to win a championship, right? They won 60 plus games. They were really considered the best team all year long. And the one team that gave them problems, it took you to game 7 to beat us without 2 of our best players. That could be their mindset. Or you can try and double down on this, like capitalize on this window that you have, because just like we feel like they're not going anywhere, San Antonio's not going anywhere either. Right. So what are my options here? Like, what can we go out and what can we get? Um, to still be contending because there's a guy like Giannis available. I know that reports came out that they're not looking to trade for Giannis, but if Chet can't get the job done, I think Giannis can do a pretty good job on Wemby. Like I'm not opposed to Jalen Williams has not been healthy. We played really well without him this year. Jalen Williams, some picks for Giannis, right? Or Chet, if like we feel like we've invested too much money, Chet picks for Giannis to maximize this title window that we have. Because we've been doing this show for 6-7 years, Alex. We always talk about,
8.
oh, well, 8 years. We always talk about, oh, well, they'll be back next year. And what happens next year? Something else happens. And that team never goes back. So why are we trying to stand pat and just be cool with what we have if there are better options available? So I personally would at least make some calls. I would at least make some calls to see if there are upgrades available. And if there's nothing that I don't have to overextend myself for, then I would look into doing.
I think one of the moves I think possibly might be Lou Dort possibly having a role, like in a large portion of this series, unplayable because he couldn't knock down a basket. He couldn't make an open shot, right? So Dort, I think he's got a team option. But, I heard Shea say, he's not going to exert any pressure or any influence over Sam Presti. Like Sam's the best GM in the league. Let Sam do his job. But a part of me is like, hey, man, Lou Dort's your partner. Lou Dort is your fellow countryman. Lou Dort has been there with him from the time I think they traded for Shea, when they did the whole tear down, and then they brought it back up, right? I think it's possible he could be like, yo, I want Lou here, right? But Lou Dort, that's an easy place where you can find, you might be able to find an upgrade, right? They might lose Case and Wallace. Like,
At
that's on
some
the
point,
board.
they're going to have to lose some of these guys. So you might as well try
Yes.
and trade them out before you just lose them for nothing and keep this team still contending.
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. But in terms of your point about Giannis and possibly trading Giannis for making a Giannis and Chet swap for some picks, after what I just saw, would you want Chet Holmgren? After what you just saw,
Now,
would you?
I mean,
if you were Milwaukee,
he's still a young player. Like, what better will Milwaukee get is what I would ask. Like, if I'm getting the 12th, the 17th pick and a 7-footer that's 22, 23 years old that was just second in Defense Player of the Year voting, and he's going to the East, we're not even going to have to play Wemby twice. We're starting over.
that might be the sell for Chet. Like, hey, he ain't got to see Wemby to the finals.
Yeah, you don't have to see Wemby to the finals. We're starting all the way over.
I guess, but my thought is, after seeing a guy pull such a disappearing act, for me, like, that's something I can't unsee that, right? So let's say if you're Milwaukee and you're really trying to build a championship team and you think, all right, at some point we're going to have to see San Antonio if we're really trying to build a champion. Is Chet going to turn into a pumpkin again, right? Like, if I was Milwaukee, I'd be like, yeah, Chet, nah, I'm good. I'd probably want Jalen Williams. I would say the Jalen Williams with the long hair, but they both have long hair. Dub, right? I'd want Dub, right? That would just be me. Now, of course, I'm in Oklahoma City, I'd try to send out, my best, worst option, which at this point looks like Chet. But personally, at least for me, I don't think Oklahoma City has to do anything ridiculously drastic.
No, they don't.
Right? Like, they took took us to Game 7 without really their, two of their best shot creators, and they lost by what, 8? They had enough to get it done. If Chet plays better, there's a good chance we're not having this conversation right now. And we're probably having a conversation about San Antonio having a great season with their young team. They're going to be back, much in the same way people talked about the Harden, Durant, and Westbrook Thunder from 14 and 15 years ago, right? We're probably having that conversation. So I don't think they really need to do much. My homie Marcus, he texted me, he said, man, I don't really want Giannis. I just want Chet Holmgren to play better. That's all, right? That's it. So I think if I was Oklahoma City, I'd still feel good about where I am because you did get Jared McCain for nothing, right?
Yes.
AJ Mitchell, I believe he's
And
still
he
on
played.
a
He had
very
he had a
manageable
phenomenal
contract.
playoffs. Jared McCain had a phenomenal playoff run. AJ Mitchell had a really good, especially second round against the Lakers. But somebody tweeted, AJ Mitchell looks very non-athletic to everybody except Austin Reeves. Like Austin Reeves just can't stay in front of that dude. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, like OKC, the thing that we marveled about is they have so many guys that are rotation players on other teams, right? And so, like you just alluded to, like at some point, somebody got to go because these NBA rules are not favorable to teams trying to be dynasties. So, like, they got to figure it out and figure it out soon. They got a lot of questions they need to answer this offseason on how they're going to move forward.
It's crazy, and I don't think after the 2011 NBA lockout, which was really caused by LeBron and the decision, much in a very similar way that Kevin Garnett contract ended up causing the lockout of 1999. And the big thing that they put into the CBA, at least the small market teams were yelling, screaming about it, was the second luxury tax apron and how much more punitive it became. And I don't think a lot of people at this point probably remember the first team that negatively impacted was Oklahoma City because they had Durant, Ibaka, Westbrook, and James Harden, and somebody had to go. Right now, they got a whole lot of money tied up in Chet already. Right? Like, do you want to trade for Giannis at age 32, 33? Giannis, who's had a lot more injury issues as of late, right? Like, is that a move you want to make, or do you want to like make some peripheral changes around the edges, right? Like that, I think for Oklahoma City, that's the bigger question, right? But they've already paid SGA, they've already paid Dub, they've already paid Chet Holmgren, right? I don't know if they're gonna be able to afford whatever Casey Wallace is asking for, right? That's just the part. Like, I'm interested to see, like, just for them, what this becomes. And for San Antonio, the crazy thing is their big four or their young big three: Victor, Castle, Harper, all rookie contracts. All of them are rookie deals right now. Like, the only dudes right now for San Antonio who are making real money are De'Aaron Fox. I think his max kicks in next year. Devin Vassell's making some real money, and Keldon Johnson, who I think we overpaid for. Right. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Switching gears, Ken, to the finals. Spurs, Knicks. Knicks haven't lost in about 7 weeks. They walked through the second and third rounds of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Early thoughts, Ken. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Spurs in 6. I think OKC and San Antonio were the two best teams in the NBA. I think whoever won that series was going to win the NBA championship. And so I think it'll be the Spurs. I do think the Knicks do pose their own unique threat to the Spurs, right? Like the roaming that Wemby was able to do around the paint. Big Cat, for all of our jokes and all of his sassiness, is one of the best big men shooters of all time, right? And so he can space the floor. He's going to drag Wemby out of the paint. Brunson is he's a tough guard just like SGA is. He presents his own challenges. I do think the Spurs, with Castle and Harper, like they got physical guards that's going to be up for the challenge. But I think the Knicks have wings that can pressure those guys. Mikal Bridges, OG, like they've got some big physical wings. Josh Hart that can give some of those guards on the Spurs some trouble. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think it's going to be some really good games. But yeah, I'm going to choose Spurs in 6.
I ain't gonna front. For me, the most important thing is how do they deal with Karl Anthony Towns, right? And I think once Mike Brown more or less made the switch to, all right, Jalen Brunson is not going to dribble the air out of the ball, and we're going to make Karl Anthony Towns the center of the offense, and he's going to facilitate. right? Once they decided that and Brunson's playing more off ball, that really unlocked the whole thing in a way that, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think was possible, right? Like, I thought if Karl-Anthony Towns is the team's best player, all right, y'all might be cooking with gas, but it's what, year 12? So I just never thought it was actually going to happen. Like, most times you just don't see a guy it cut on in a way that it has for Karl-Anthony Towns the last couple of weeks, right? But I think for San Antonio, what gives San Antonio an edge is, at least for me, I don't know how many teams have ever won a championship when their two best players can't guard anyone, right? And I'm talking about Brunson and Karl. Their two best players don't guard anyone. And so that puts a whole lot of pressure on Mikal Bridges, on OG, on Josh Hart, right? On everyone else. And I think San Antonio, like, the only, like, in the starting lineup, the only weak link that you can say can't handle the ball is Champagnie, right? So where do you put Brunson on what? Champagnie? But where do you go? You know, who do you put Karl on, right? You put Karl on Victor, or do you try OG on Victor, right? Because if you put OG on Victor, Victor's got a size advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, like that would be the problem. Like, you can't hide. It's really hard to hide two players, right? You can hide a guy defensively. It's really hard to hide two of them, right?
Yeah.
And I also think, for me, how San Antonio deals with Karl. Like, do you try to guard him with somebody else to let Victor roam the back line?
I would think so.
But who would be that person? Who's the guy, right? Because I'm like, I don't like that matchup for Vassell, too small. I don't like that matchup for Champagnie, far too small. Like, do you have to go with Keldon Johnson more? Which, I ain't gonna lie, for me, Keldon Johnson stresses me out. He just does. He does.
I would probably
Nothing
say
looks
you gotta
easy.
you would probably have to get some Keldon Johnson minutes. But because what the Spurs starting lineup is Fox, Castle,
Champagnie, Vassell, Victor.
Yeah, in that first group, you probably just got to live with Victor on cut. And then throughout the game, you would probably throw Keldon in there, let Victor be able to roam a little bit. They're going to throw different looks. It's like I said, it's going to be a really good matchup. And it's going to be a really good game of chess between these two coaches as to how they try and move these pieces around.
The thing I keep thinking about is what San Antonio's going to have for Brunson, right? Because my thought is this: look, man, if we can give Shea hell, anybody that ain't Shea, you don't understand what's about to descend upon you, right? Like, you're not quite prepared for it, right? Like, Castle is big, long, and physical. Harper, big, long, physical, right? Vassell, crazy as it's kept, 6'5", 6'6", with a 6'10", 6'11" wingspan, right? Like, they've got a lot of dudes they can throw at Brunson, right? And even then, San Antonio's bench, right? Like, San Antonio's got a lot of guys. We've got a lot of guys that can create shots for not only themselves, but for other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is going to be, if Victor is as assertive as he was in games 1, 4, 5, and 1, 4, 6, and 7, we win. Like, the games that San Antonio won, Victor looked for his shot and was aggressive and assertive, right? The games that we lost, and some of this I do think is an issue of fatigue and conditioning with Victor, because I think in the regular season, he averaged like 30 odd minutes per game. So he's not used to playing 38, 39, 40 minutes, right? Some of these games, he looked tired, right? Like game 2 and 3, he looked a little worn down. He looked a little slow. Game 4, he came out, he looked fresh and full of energy. And that's a game where he came out, it was really assertive from the beginning, and we got a lead and we ran him off the floor, right? Like, which Victor is going to show up early in these games? Because I don't think San Antonio, like, I think in game 5, Victor went more or less the entire first quarter, and he took maybe 2 shots. That ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah, I remember.
That's not gonna cut it. Like, you're the, like, say we win, like, we can win when you don't play well. It can happen, right? But the whole part about you being the best player on the floor and being some alien is you got to go be the alien.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go do it, right? When he does that, especially, and here's the scary part about Victor offensively, and I think this really came out in the Oklahoma City series. He doesn't have a go-to move on offense yet.
No.
He doesn't have a move, right? And it's because sometimes he'll get into the basket, do the little turnaround, get to the lane, do the turnaround. Sometimes go into the step back. I saw him a few times go to the Tim Duncan-esque bank shot. It's like he doesn't have a move to where if he's struggling or trying to get into rhythm, he can just go to off of memory, boom, this is my move, right? And I think that's the scary part. But I think in a series like this, where defensively it's going to be incredibly physical, where defensively it's, with Mike Brown being a defensive, mastermind, I think there are going to be times where points are tough to come by, if that makes, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. San Antonio background. Part of Pop's, part of Pop's coaching tree. He's been here before, right? Like Mike Brown, it's crazy to say because a couple of years ago, he was I'm not going to say he was like a laughing stock, but like he's closer now to being a Hall of Famer than just a regular coach. Like the man's won championships with the Spurs as an assistant, won championship with the Warriors as an assistant, got coach of the year with LeBron, coach Kobe, ended the Kings, 15-year playoff drought, and now has taken the Knicks to the finals. He's battle tested, and he's been around and seen a lot. So, to your point, yeah, he is going to throw a lot at the Spurs, and knowing that those guys are young and haven't been really through some adversity. So I'm very excited to see how this finals will go. The Brunson Cat dynamic, Wemby on the other side with Castle and Harper, what they do. So I'm locked in. I'm ready for Wednesday.
Hey man, in a way that, dog, I have not been this excited to watch a sporting event or a series of sporting events in a long time. Ken, I think the last time I was this like locked in was 2014 Spurs Heat, the rematch. I was locked in such a way, like I was going to sleep early. I was taking a nap before the game, like the whole thing. It was a thing. It was a thing. Moving on right quick, Ken. It's June 1st. So most times we're not talking NFL, right?
Yep.
But this year we've had a pair of huge trades. Myles Garrett to the Rams for Jared Verse, a first-round pick, and I think a third and a fifth. I think that's what the trade package was. And then A.J. Brown, it's been long rumored, A.J. Brown to the Patriots for a 1 and a 5. So, Ken, I'll ask you this question. How much better did the Rams get today? And do you think this puts them firmly as a Super Bowl favorite?
I think I think they got a lot better. And now Jared Verse was no bum, right? Like Jared Verse they picked him. He is a quality NFL player, right? He's not Myles Garrett. Like that dude I thought that dude was going to be, like another Joe Thomas, just like stuck on Cleveland and a Hall of Famer for his whole career and never really got a chance to get some playoff minutes. Now I know the Browns made the playoffs, a couple of years, but the Rams are Super Bowl contenders. And the draft was 2 months ago. I criticized the Rams because I'm like, why would you take Todd Simpson when you were a game away from the Super Bowl? You need to be the same thing as Oklahoma City. You need to be trying to maximize your Super Bowl window. Da 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 da. Well, now we just got Myles Garrett, and it's like, oh my gosh, like the NFC is tough. And somebody tweeted there's a difference in how organizations manage things. One organization just traded for Myles Garrett on June 1st. Another organization in NFC is having a contract dispute with Jacoby Brissett. Like the Rams, I wholeheartedly agree with the Rams motto of F those picks. Like we'll figure it out. Like we got a really good coach. We don't know how long he's going to be here. We don't know how many more years Matt Stafford got, right? So let's try and maximize this window. And I pray that 99 doesn't decide to walk back on that field. Because if he decides to come out of retirement and go next to Myles Garrett on that line, God bless. Okay. God bless.
I think one of the things that's really interesting to me about like the dichotomy between the AFC and the NFC is that we can all pretty much agree that the AFC has the quarterbacks, right? They've got Mahomes, they've got Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Criticisms, obviously there, right? To a lesser extent, especially I think people have sold a lot of their stock in CJ Stroud, but I think CJ Stroud can still be a really good quarterback. Like what we saw out of him year one, that guy just doesn't turn into a pumpkin. If they can get a running game in a competent NFL offensive line, he can be as good as he was his rookie year, right? And with Tank Dell coming back. Where the AFC has the quarterbacks, the NFC has the more complete teams, right? So like last year's Seattle squad, the Rams, even the year before that with Philadelphia, where Philadelphia did not have the better quarterback in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, but everywhere else, they were clearly better than Kansas City, right? Like this is another big example of that. And I think with the NFC, like there are a lot of teams with good quarterbacks or like very good quarterbacks. I think Matt Stafford going into this got to be this year 19?
Yeah, because he was drafted 07, right?
7. Matt Stafford was drafted in 07.
He was the number 1 pick in 07?
Mm-hmm. Number 1 pick in 07. So Matt Stafford in year 19. Right now, again, the homie Marcus, he is a Sam Darnold truther, right? But they lost a couple of pieces there, right? Like I'm interested to see, like he did. You said lost Super Bowl MVP?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kenneth Walker's gone to Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
So they've lost some pieces, and I think Clay Kubiak's gone to the Raiders as well. So they've lost a couple of things. They still got Smith and Jigba out there. They still got guys, right? But I'm thinking, all right, Myles Garrett, like what they're going to be able to do with the Rams is rush 4. Just rush 4. If you could just rush 4 and drop 7, and with those 4, we gonna get home. Like there's not a hope we gonna get home. It's you're getting home with 4, right? Because Myles Garrett is easily first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a monster, right? And with the rest of that defense that they've already got set up, he's going to be just fine, right? Now, to speak to the Philadelphia Eagles and them getting rid of A.J. Brown, which felt like really anticlimactic, right? Like it felt like everybody knew this was coming, right? Like this
on
wasn't
this date too.
I feel like yes,
everybody knew on June 1st he was going to be traded. Yeah,
like which makes me wonder: did A.J. Brown already You think he's already living in the Boston area? You think he's already moved up there, or do you think he let the kids finish out the school year in Philadelphia?
They probably already had this done.
That is fair, and they didn't get him for a whole lot either. But
no,
for Philadelphia, the big question is like, y'all let your best receiver go because he was like, "Hey, we can be better than this. We should be better than this. We're winning, but this don't look right." And they shipped him out of town. It better look better than it has actually last year. Because last year, it looked like at times that they didn't practice. Like Philadelphia, like they have enough talent where, frankly, them operating at 50 or 60% capacity is enough for them to win 11 games and make the playoffs. Because we've seen with this 2 out of the last 4 years, they've operated at 50% capacity, got eliminated in the first round, and they ended up going to the Super Bowl the next year. Right? We've seen it happen with them. Right? So what does it look like for them? And the person who's clearly, for me, on the hottest of hot seats, like it's got to be scalding, Nick Sirianni. Because my question always with Nick Sirianni is, what exactly does he actually do? Nick Sirianni has fired 4 offensive coordinators. Nick Sirianni fired Nick Sirianni from calling the plays his first year, and then he gave the job to Steichen. Steichen leaves, he gives the job to Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson gets fired. Then it works well with Kellen Moore. They win a title. Then he goes to Patullo. Patullo gets fired.
Yep.
Right? You don't get to fire 3 coordinators before they fire you. Right? Like he's next. He's the next guy because there's no reason a team like this, which can win 11, 12 games just, pissing around, shouldn't be better than what they are. Like, I think the day is going to come where the Eagles win 11 or 12 games, but they got to go can Sirianni. And the year might be this year. It might be this year.
I agree. I mean, I totally agree. Like, the talent that Philadelphia has helps them out tremendously. Like, they can kind of coast through this, but you could always see that it was a weird dynamic between like AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, because it would be like we can't stop Saquon running the ball, but then after a while they just start calling all these pass plays, like kind of like, here, take the ball. Like that literally seemed like their off. Yeah, that literally seemed like their offense half the time. I'm purposefully doing this just to appease you, and we all know it. Even though we got one of the best running backs in football, O-line, we got all these weapons, but we got to do this. And you just knew that it was coming to an end. And so Nick Sirianni, I don't know what he does either besides yell at fans and like talk trash as a head coach. But like, he doesn't scare me. Like, he's not like Andy Reid, or he's like, man, I don't know what this dude is gonna. I don't know what game plan these dudes are gonna come. As a Cowboys fan, Nick Sirianni does not scare me. Like, they better have a good year this year. They better have a good year.
He got a lot. Nick Sirianni got a lot of Dabo Swinney in his game. And I don't mean in terms like the Christianity or anything like that, but he remind me a whole lot of Dabo Olstein, because I've always been wondering, what does Dabo do? Right? And what Dabo is a CEO. But all the CEOs aren't created equal, right? Like Dan Lanning's a CEO now, but Dan Lanning is a defensive guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby Smart's doing more of the CEO thing, but we know Kirby from being the D coordinator for Saban's Alabama teams, right? Saban became a CEO, but we know Saban from being, Belichick's DC. He still was out there coaching DBs even in his last year or two, right? What does Sirianni do exactly? Like, is he supposed to? I know he was supposed to be an offensive guy, right? But with the time he called the plays, that lasted for 6 weeks, and then he had, and it looked horrible. It looked absolutely horrible. And so it's like, okay, buddy, if Sirianni does not make good coordinator hires, it falls apart. When he does make good coordinator hires, Kellen Moore, but getting Kellen Moore also corresponds with them getting Saquon Barkley, right? Or deciding to install Steichen as OC in 2021, right? That's when it all took off. Right? So when he makes 2022 is the year they made it to Super Bowl. When they make good hires, when Sirianni hires well, it goes great. When he doesn't, it doesn't. So they got the guy from the Packers who's going to do a whole lot of the, Shanahan tree zone, inside zone stuff, play action off of that, and what would it look like from there? And I remember specifically a guy who's under a lot of pressure is going to be Jalen. I don't know if you saw the ESPN story. Did you see that? The ESPN story where they talked about here's everything that was wrong with the Eagles offense, and one of the things was Jalen didn't like a lot of the plays that were coming in. And so they'd send one play into the huddle and you never knew what play was going to come out, right? Mm-hmm. Like Jalen was going to possibly call something different, out of there. Or when they ran 4 verts twice at the end of the season against the Niners, that was Jalen Hurts' idea, right? And for me, the thing has to be, hey man, somebody tell Jalen Hurts, you need to do what I say, right? Because Jalen Hurts might be a decent quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a starting level NFL quarterback, which if it's all going really well, he can be really good, right? In terms of his ceiling when he's playing really well. Jalen Hurts appears to be a terrible offensive coordinator. He appears to be a terrible play caller because some of the stuff they're calling, you remember when they played Green Bay and they threw a fade to AJ Brown on like 4th and 1, and it was like, and everybody's like, what on, who did that? Apparently that was Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, but everybody covered for him at the time, right? So is this new coordinator able to tell Jalen Hurts, hey man, sit down and do what I tell you to do? Because they say Jalen's resistant to motions and shifts, and he doesn't like play action passes where he has to turn his back to the defense. He always wants to see everything, which to a certain extent makes sense. But somebody got to look at him and say, hey, Playboy, when we've done it your way, it hasn't worked. So, and honestly, if I was the new coordinator, I'd be like, hey, man, They was throwing bricks at that other dude's house last year. You ain't about to do. They ain't them folks in Philadelphia ain't about to do me off like this. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's real. That's absolutely like. Now I will say, Jalen probably has an air about him now. Like, well, when I'm operating at my best, we're going to the Super Bowl. So like if the OC is like, if you do this my way, well, when you tried it your way, he's like, well, if I'm doing it the way that I feel most comfortable, that's when we having the most success, when we winning. He is a very difficult quarterback to judge and to rate because he's been on a really good team. He's a good quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback. But you know that there's like a ceiling that he has that other quarterbacks can get higher than that. But if he's playing his best ball, then the Eagles they're world beaters and they got all this time. Like it's tough to evaluate him.
Yeah, if he's playing his best, he's outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. I think he finished second in the MVP voting. But I think, as you said, like when I'm playing really well and I'm really comfortable, we went to a Super Bowl. The year I'm thinking about especially with that is Steichen in 2022. That was 4 years ago. Everybody is up on what y'all were doing 4 years ago. 2023, everybody was on it. Everybody knew what it was. Right? So it's like you do have to evolve. And I think the thing for me was going to be, does Jalen Hurts take that next step? Because I think, like you said, it's hard to really get because some people are ridiculous and they're like, oh, he's just nothing but just a bigger version of Taysom Hill. I'm like, you're a moron. Right? But he's also not in that class of quarterback.
He's not a top
Lamar
5 quarterback
Jackson, Mahomes. I think he's in that tier with Dak Prescott, but below Dak Prescott, right?
That is what I say all the time. And like I get pushback because like, oh, well, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's been in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, Dak ain't won nothing. I think that's the thing. I think Dak's a better player than he is.
Yeah.
But Jalen's had more success with the team.
I totally agree. Because you got to remember, and I think we did talk about this on the podcast. Like it wasn't no surprise that Jalen went in the 2nd round. You know, like when he got drafted, I wasn't even sure if he was going to start anytime soon. You know what I mean? Like it was fair questions around his ability to play quarterback at the next level. And so you're like, okay, well, Jalen's having a good career. But then you see things and you're like, man, that dude ain't he's not a top 5 quarterback. He's in the tier 2. He's in the tier 2. And those tier 2, like the situation that Jalen is in, if they're in the right situation, they can win big.
And Matt Stafford's in there with him.
Correct.
In that 2nd tier.
Correct. I would say Matt Stafford's in that 2nd tier because he's older. But like if you're just going talent, if you're just going by pure quarterback talent, Stafford had a tier 1 talent. Fair. He's old now. He's old. He can't move. But Jalen is a tier 2 quarterback. So it is a lot of pressure riding on him now because it seems like it's every other year. And now this is the every other year. So you should be having the good year this year because we had the bad one last year.
I mean, I think there are a couple of problems, though. One of them is Saquon Barkley is got to be getting close to 30. And that age 27 season, we've seen it with so many really good running backs. Age 27, after 27, that's the demarcating line. And off a cliff you go. Last year, Saquon Barkley looked like a dude who carried the ball 250 times. That O-line last year looked like they run blocked. They had to run block 250, 300 times last year. And the thing I think you said it about Jalen is his teams have had so much success. But in the midst of his teams having success, we can even go back to college. At every step, the question was, is Jalen good enough? They had a team, that 2017 team that won a national title, they had Devontae Smith, freshman Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Calvin Ridley, like Bo Scarborough, Najee Harris, Damian Harris. They had dudes, Josh Jacobs, they had dudes everywhere. First round picks everywhere. and they did not have a competent downfield passing game except for when they threw the ball to Calvin Ridley, right? At every step of the way. Like, in the moment they put Tua in, you're like, oh, these receivers are really good, right? Like, you saw a clear difference, right? But even when he went to Oklahoma, the question was, can Jalen throw the ball well enough? When he has thrown the ball well enough, they've been really good, but you just got rid of your best receiver. So, the question I think for Devontae Smith is Devontae a number one? I think he has the ability to be a number one because by the time he was done in college, he reminded me a lot of that dude who used to play in Indianapolis, who we don't talk about. His son's in the league playing for Arizona, and he ain't doing too well. I hope you picking up what I'm putting down here because we don't talk about thugs. We don't talk about thugs here on this show, right? He reminds me a lot of that dude who, not Reggie Wayne, but the other guy. He used to play with Peyton Manning. Same type of build, same type of great route runner. He's not going to run away from you. He's just going to be really technically sound and do the job. That's who Devontae Smith really reminds me a lot of. And if Devontae Smith can be the one, and they drafted Lemon out of Mekhi Lemon from USC.
Mekhi Lemon, yeah.
If they can be good, if Smith can be their number one, and they've got Mekhi Lemon there, and they can run the ball a bit better, like we mentioned, Philadelphia can win 10, 11 games, and they're not at full capacity. So I think they'll be fine though.
Yeah. I mean, I think the division is getting a little better, right? If Jaden Daniels is healthy, Washington will probably be better. Dallas, like we said before, defensively can't be worse. So I think Dallas will pose a threat. I don't know what New York is going to do. But it'll be interesting to see what happens because it could be some big changes, right? Whether it be Sirianni or Jalen Hurts or both. Like, I don't know if they get off of Jalen Hurts, but I think that it would be time. It would be enough time to say that a change needs to happen within that organization if they don't do well at all this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Kennedy Miller, my guy.
Always a pleasure, my man.
Where can the folks find you on Twitter, dog?
You can find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. You guys can find me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in Thunder, S as in Spurs, M as in Mavericks. I don't know where that one came from.
Madison Square Garden.
Ah, that's good, kid. That's good. Madison Square Garden because we are getting to the finals. And boy, that joint gonna be rocking. It's gonna be rocking. Them people gonna be in there lit. Lit, I tell you, lit. Ken, I don't even know if we're gonna be able to do this. We're gonna be able to do we're gonna do reactions after the games. We're not gonna
have to.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to do them live because we're still trying to get our setups here. But we gonna pod for y'all after these NBA Finals games. Lamar Gafford is always down to pinch hit. I talked to him a couple of days ago. JT down to pinch hit, ride with us. So we're gonna get these episodes out to y'all. All right, during the finals, after each game, we gonna be coming to y'all. Well, y'all gonna get it the next morning. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I ain't uploading nothing at midnight, 1 a.m. I gotta go to bed, right? But we got high-level podcasting for the Game Plan Podcast as we wrap up this year. So always stay locked into our YouTube channel, locked into wherever you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Pods, anywhere like that. Stay locked in with us. But wherever you're listening, however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. For Kennedy Miller, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys next time. Take it easy.